Hey guys, this is Eric Weingner with Weingner Racing. The thumbnail said "Small Block Chevy, rest in peace." I don't want to lie to you. It's not like completely blown up, but it's done. So, and I'll explain in this video. For this foreseeable future, small block Chevy dyno testing for the Mule is done. Which brings up this point. That's a big reason for this video. Several of you viewers have sent in products for me to test. Like you've got several of you sent in manifolds and whatnot. If you would like those back, email me and let me know, and I will ship those back to you because I don't know when I'll be doing any more small block Chevy dyno mule testing. Yeah, I just don't know. There's no real good, which I'll tell why in this video, but there's no good timeline on when any more testing will get done. For that, which sucks. But anyway, the other thing I want to bring up is because I had forgotten this, is several of my viewers, I mentioned a mistake I'd made, and this is what I mean. If you're under the age of 30, you could get a channel membership for just buying a sticker, and it's $6. And you can go to my online store and you can do that. And the links will be in the description. What I forgot to do was go to my online store and update the quantity I have. So it said it was out of stock. I've since updated it. So if you're under the age of 30 and you want that membership, it only costs you $6. And just get this sticker. So tell your friends or whatnot. I will ask for some proof. So anyway, which you're like, nah, that's pointless now to get a membership. You just, small block Chevy thing's done. The LS is still coming up. I'm still doing testing on the 540 dyno mule. So I just don't know when I'll get back to the small block. But I will say this, if you did get the membership, then I will text you all the dyno graphs from all the dyno testing that happened yesterday. Because yesterday, here's what was dyno tested. The Hulk 23 4150 manifold was tested. I got to see the difference between the old oil pan and old pump versus the new one. We tested one of my ported Eldebrock 2892s. Tested it with a Dominator, so I got to test that. I also got to test the dimpled spacers. So those are the rage on Facebook right now. And you can see how much power difference it made. And then also, I tested the 2970, which is the Super Victor for the Dominator. Tested it with the port matching to see what it would do. And then I brought it back 2 old manifolds just to see what they would do. And that was, I brought back the Hurricane version 1. I tested it with the Dominator. And then I also tested a completely stock AFR 4811 single plane manifold. And got to test those. Also tested 3 different sizes of carburetors just because I got so tired of people being stupid and saying your 1000 CFM is too big for that engine. If you put a 750 on it, you would make more power. No. I tested a 750 carburetor and another 600 just to further prove the point. Anyway, that sums up that. So if you've sent parts and you would like the back for the small block Chevy, let me know. So here's what happened with the engine. So it didn't kick a rod or nothing, and I don't feel heartbroken necessarily from this deal because it lasts a lot longer than I did. It's a block problem. So here I'm going to tell you, back up just real quickly. I'll get to this. When I first did this dyno mule, I was looking for a block, and I just wanted something not necessarily the best because I also didn't have a lot of money because we're talking about a huge investment to invest in this thing. It was only going to be used for a dyno, and with the hopes of maybe I'd sell enough books to ever almost recoup the cost. And I'm going to tell you, the engine itself ended up costing me about 12 grand. That's just the engine. It's not the dyno section, just the engine. All the books sold maybe made $8,000. So we're at a $4,000 loss anyway. I'm not whining. I'm just being honest because you need to know this. So I found this block, and it was a Dart SHP Pro, and it had been blown up. And the guy had put a sleeve in, and he also used block filler and half filled the block up with concrete. And had all the machine work done. It was $1,500. So it was a pretty good deal. And so the first dyno sessions or whatever, because remember, so many things have been tested. AFR enforcer heads, the AFR 227 competition ports, ProMax Project X 215 heads, the ProMax 235 CNC heads, which are my design. And I don't know, just about every manifold you can think of, from dual planes, everything. Which I also made a playlist, so you can go back and watch all the 406 dyno videos are now in a playlist. So it's much easier for you just to watch. But anyway, so I've tested all that. But when I took off the enforcer heads, which are the first heads that were on there, I had saw where the sleeve was, the head bolts that are around it had cracked. And some of them had spread a pretty good amount. And at that point, so this was like, I don't know, session 3 I'd already finished when that happened. I was like, I knew it was a problem, but I was really hoping everything would be okay. And up until this being the 8th session was yesterday, it had been. This time it finally had enough. The block pretty much said, I can't take any more of this. So essentially, here's what happened. At the end, so we'd already made like 24 dyno runs, and Gary had a couple of carburetors to test, and that's why the 750 was tested in the 600. Because from time to time, people will come in and will say, you want to buy this carburetor? He might buy it real cheap from them. And then another customer might come in and say, do you have any good used carburetors maybe? And what he'll do is he'll test them on the motor. And he said, do you mind if we just put these on your motor and we'll see if they're okay? He just really wanted to see if they'll idle and how close the air-fuel ratio is. I said, I don't care. And so we'd put the 750 on, and then we'd put the 600 on. And we did some tuning and got them to work halfway correctly. But when he pulled off the carburetor at the end, it was water underneath. And that was unusual, because how could you have water underneath the carburetor? Because I thought, well, it was just fuel, not water. No. What was happening was, and I noticed this on the second to last pull. And even, by the way, the numbers were repeating. So it was like, just to give you an idea, it was 609 on the second to last pull. The next pull was 608. So it was within 1. Torque was about the same, and it was the same. As long as you had the water temperature and the oil temperature close, the power numbers were almost identical, like within 1. So anyway, but when he made the second to last pull, it looked like a choo-choo train coming out of the valve covers. So not like, oh my gosh, I broke a ring. Not that color of smoke. It looks like steam, and not necessarily black or white smoke like you'd see when you break a ring. I've seen that before. Not this. It just looked like steam, which I should point out from time to time happens occasionally whenever we're changing manifolds. The reason why is you're taking a cold manifold and you put it onto a hot engine, and you already got really humid anyway. So all that air, the humidity, will touch that cold manifold that you just put on, and it will vaporize. It will turn into a condensate, and then it turns into water into the oil, and as you make pulls, it turns into steam, and out it goes. This was different, though, because it already made its pulls. We were just letting it sit, so it was unusual. But for in order there to be water coming up there, the steam had to come in and condense on the bottom of the carburetor, because obviously it's cold because it's got the fuel there. So he said, why don't we just pull plugs and we'll take a peek. And we pulled the cylinder number 4 where the sleeve is, and it was, the spark plug looked kind of rusty. We bumped over the engine, and out came water. And I might say, well, did the block crack the cylinder? No. It was what had happened was the crack from the head bolt had spread closer to the sleeve, and I'm running an MLS gasket, so the crack actually ran underneath the where the gasket sits, so it's allowing water to go there. And then the biggest part of that, though, is the cracks at the main studs, though, holding those down. That main stud goes into that, and that cracks are opening up, so it's losing its torque value. So essentially, it's just pushing water in there. So is it the end of the world as far as that was concerned? Could it be reused? I mean, granted, I probably could go to a composite gasket, but this block is not going to work any longer because, as you know, I change heads often. Every time you do that, that block loses its value because that crack just opens further. So it can't keep it on that. Also, so far it's all been NA, but I wanted to test the blower, which he had the fuel system. Probably would have been testing the blower yesterday, which would have been even worse. We'd had some really, really bad things happening. Anyway, point being is that block can't be repaired. I mean, an average person, so if you just like, which I'd probably sell it, by the way, which like, why would anybody want to buy it? If you didn't change heads all the time and you just put a composite head gasket on there, it'd probably do you just fine, especially if you're in a drag race application. But for me, no, because I change heads all the time. Because I want to see what works, what doesn't work. I'm going to change parts. And also with the boost, there's no way I would trust this with boost. It's just going to, it will lose its torque value on that cylinder, and it's going to keep pushing water in. So point being is that's done. So you're like, well, what are you going to do from here on? Well, here's the thing. This morning I decided I will get up and I will try to find how much a block even is. Well, I found a Dart SHP Pro, which I'm surprised I even found them. They're $3,000. Now that's just a block. It's got to be machined. So Gary would have to do all the machine work, and also he'd have to assemble the engine, which is like, why don't you just assemble it? Because I don't have time. Yes, I know how to do it. I'm quite confident in that, but regardless. So once all that stuff gets switched over, which by the way, on the second to last pull, when we were starting it up, it almost felt like it hit against the starter, like it had too much timing. I think there was water in the cylinder at that point. So I'm not so certain that that rod, I'm just paranoid that that might be slightly bent or something, so I wouldn't even risk it anyway. But anyway, so it's $3,000 for the block. By the time you get all the machine work done and put everything back together, you're probably $5,000, which a new short block, by the way, looking at different websites, is between $56 and $6,300. Okay, so there you go. This doesn't make any sense. So, and this is gonna sound like I'm whining. I'm not. I'm just being honest with you guys. So you understand why I'm making decisions that I am. The engine cost $12,000, and at best I've made $8,000. So that's a $4,000 loss. I probably got, last year I know for sure, there's about 10 to 12,000, I think, something like that. And dyno fees and stuff. Now, not all that's from small block. Some of that was from the 496, but that's about right. So there's no business that I know that would be like, hey, let's keep losing, $10,000 at a time, so I can make a YouTube video that makes 500 for the entire year. That doesn't make sense. It will never break even. So you're like, well, why did you do it? I did it to learn information, so I am kind of selfish in that matter. But at some point, I warned people, viewers, on this, and you guys thought I was whining the whole entire time. A lot of you did. At some point, you're like, you got to cut your losses. You can't just keep blowing money. Granted, it's fun, but you can't keep doing this. And yes, I've had sponsors as far as not giving me money, but giving me products to test, which is great. But remember, every time those sponsors like give a set of cylinder heads to try or something like that, it still takes gaskets to do it, and it still takes another $700 to do for the dyno session. So yes, it's great I got a product, but it still costs money to use that product. So, and I'm not asking, woe is me, is this the worst thing ever? No, there's so much worse that could happen. I mean, it lasted longer than I thought it ever would anyway. What I'm trying to get at is, I don't know when I'll be doing more small block Chevy dyno testing, because I don't know that I want to spend $4,000 or $5,000 right now at this point on that. I would love to have my son's car drivable by the end of the summer. And I know you're like, well, you got the shirt sales. You probably I've sold 7 shirts. I haven't even made my money back from investing in making the shirts. But anyway, yeah, I just don't know if I want to. I know I will do it. I know the small block Chevy will be tested again at some point. I have no idea when. That's why I say, if you've got parts here that are small block Chevy related, I'll send them back to you. I just don't know. So I know you're like, well, you're probably going to have it up and running within a month. No. No. So the LS is close, though. He's got it all put together, but I still got to pay for that bill. And you think the small block Chevy is expensive, the LS is expensive. So I just talked about how much money I spent on that one. I know it seems like whining, and how much I've lost. Well, I'm fixing to lose a whole lot, because there's been zero profit made on the LS yet. Not even a book has been sold yet. Luckily, I've had viewers that helped with it, so it didn't cost as much as it has. But even then, it's still a huge, huge loss. And also, I'm going to do all those cylinder head changes. I'm not going to lie, I am going to do that testing. But I think instead of doing a whole week, because I just lose profit from the business doing that, I think I'm going to do like 1 day or 2 days at a time. So I'll get all those heads tested, just won't be in one continuous week of testing. 1, that's hell. And 2, also, it was getting hot anyway yesterday in the dyno. Changing all those heads would make me miserable. Woo! So, does it mean all testing is done? No, the 540 is still going to be tested. I'm going to put the AFR 385 heads on that. The LS is still going to be tested. But just for right now, until I guess I get some funds, so I'm not losing as much money, small block Chevy is done for now. I still probably test this supercharger, the Torque Storm on the truck and the S10. And by the way, that engine isn't all that healthy either. I mean, when that Dyno Mule was chugging smoke, shoot, the one in the S10 does more than that anyway. That sucks. I think it's got some ring issues too. So I'm going to put it on the dyno. I'm probably going to, at least its block's not cracked, but or nothing like that, but it needs some work too. So I'm going to test the 2 superchargers on it with the 85 tune on the chassis dyno. But I would rather spend the money I would have spent for the dyno mule to get that engine right. But anyway, so there you go. There's your update. By the way, what was tested yesterday, just in case I forgot to tell you. Hulk 23 manifold was tested with the 4150 style, that one. And the dimple carb spacers, I don't know if I mentioned this video or not, because this is actually my second take. But I also tested the Hurricane manifold from Blast from the Past and a 4811. So if I repeated myself, I'm sorry about that one. Also the AFR dual plane as well. Yeah, I think I already did. Sorry if I repeated myself, but anyway. Those will be out later videos. If you're above the age of 30, get the channel membership. Yes, it costs $150. It's just to help not lose as much money. And I'm being serious. That's it. But anyway, I know it seems like a whine, and I'm just letting you know small block Chevy's done for a bit. Thanks for watching. Remember, I'm no Superman. You guys, remember, I don't pour cast iron heads. Take care.